You know, sometimes life throws you a curveball so sharp, it cuts through all your expectations like a knife, and this one. This one's a doozy. Picture this. A millionaire in Beverly Hills decides to invite his cleaning lady to a charity gala not out of kindness, but as a joke. Yeah, that happened. And what unfolded that night? Let's just say nobody left that ballroom the same. The main hall of the Blackwood estate was buzzing with the usual high society sneers and forced smiles when Victoria Taylor made her entrance. The woman who spent the last 2 years cleaning every inch of that mansion, always invisible, always silent, walked down the marble staircase dressed in a gown that cost more than most people's annual salaries. But the laughter that greeted her wasn't admiration. It was pure, biting cruelty. "Look who decided to show up," Richard Blackwood muttered to his guests, his voice dripping with mockery, lifting his glass of Dom Perignon like a toast to humiliation. Victoria was 35, never dreaming she'd be invited, let alone show Pat such an event. The invitation had come 3 days earlier, slipped into her hand with that same cruel smile Richard always wore. "Charity gala, Saturday night," he'd said. "Dress code, maximum elegance. Surely you have something suitable in your wardrobe." And with that, the hallway echoed with laughter from his friends, the kind of laughter meant to remind her of her place cleaning lady, not guest. Richard had even invited social reporters, calling it an educational moment. The day before the gala, he made a bet with his wife Helena. 100 grand says she won't show. And if she does, she'll be the entertainment. Helena smirked. "You're terrible, Richard. She'll probably show up in something borrowed and be out within 15 minutes, looking like she's in the wrong movie." But Richard didn't know Victoria like we do. See, Victoria grew up around places like this not as an employee, but as family. Long before she scrubbed floors for a living, she walked these halls with a different name and a different life. And let me tell you, some storms don't break you. They teach you how to dance in the rain. So, on that night, Victoria walked into the hall, head held high, eyes calm and steady like someone carrying secrets powerful enough to shake this whole world. "My God, she actually came," whispered Patricia, the senator's wife, to her friend Vivian. "And look at that dress. Where'd she get it? Probably rented it and is paying it off in 10 installments." Vivian sneered. How pathetic. What I didn't know, Victoria hadn't borrowed, bought, or rented that dress. She'd gone way back to reclaim it from a past Richard desperately wanted erased. Richard strutted over, chest puffed with arrogance, confident this spectacle was under his control. "Victoria, what a surprise. I never doubted you'd come. After all, when a person like you gets invited to a place like this," he paused, smirking. But Victoria cut him off, her voice calm and sharp. "Go on, Richard. Finish your sentence." For a moment, something in her tone shook him, a firmness he hadn't seen in the submissive woman he knew. He blinked, then shrugged it off. "You must be feeling intimidated by all this elegance, right?" She smiled, not nervously, but with a quiet, dangerous serenity. "Intimidated?" she echoed, locking eyes with him. "No, Richard, I'm exactly where I belong." The room fell silent, just for a breath, but that silence shattered everything. Victoria wasn't the invisible cleaning lady anymore. She was a force that defied every expectation. Richard cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "Enjoy the evening. I'm sure it'll be educational for you." She swept her gaze over the crowd. "Oh, I'm sure it will be educational for all of us." What Richard and everyone else didn't realize was Victoria's secret weapon, a history that would blow the roof off this whole place. The party's mood shifted when Patricia Weston approached, her smile venomous. "Victoria, dear, how long did it take you to find that dress? Must have been quite the challenge." Victoria replied evenly. "This dress has a very special history. It belonged to my mother." Vivian laughed. "And where did your mother get it?" "Some fancy thrift store." But Victoria's smile turned colder. "My mother wore this dress the last time she was in a ballroom like this 20 years ago when she was still Victoria Blackwood." The room's chatter stopped dead. Richard's laughter froze. "What did you say?" "Blackwood." Her voice sliced through the air. "Funny how some people choose to forget their own family history." Richard's face paled. Helena gripped his arm. "You're delirious," he stammered, less confident than he intended. Victoria stepped closer, voice steady. "This is our history, the history you tried to erase by pretending certain people in our family never existed. Phones were recording now not for mockery, but for something far heavier." Helena pulled Richard aside, whispering, "What is she talking about?" "She's lying," he said shakily. "She's just trying to get attention." But then Victoria pulled out something that silenced the Rumar ring, the Blackwood family engagement ring with the blue sapphire passed down for generations. "This ring," she said, holding it high, "was given to my mother by her father, Henry Blackwood. My grandfather, the man you told your children died without heir." Richard was visibly shaken, trembling. "Where did you get this? How dare you steal it?" Victoria laughed, but there was no humor there. "You can't steal what's rightfully yours by birth." Patricia whispered to Vivian, "Do you think she's telling the truth?" Vivian's confident sneer faltered. Victoria looked Richard dead in the eyes. "No, I'm not your cousin, I'm your half-sister." The room exploded into murmurs. Richard looked like he'd been hit by lightning. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, voice cracking. "My father would never making this up." But Victoria pressed on. "Henry Blackwood had an affair with my mother, Isabella, who was the family's piano teacher. When she found out she was pregnant with me, your father promised to take care of you, and he did, until he died." Helena covered her mouth, watching in shock. "Ew," Victoria said, pointing at Richard, "decided it was easier to pretend we didn't exist. You cut off our allowance, sold the house your father bought, and left us in poverty." Richard blustered. "I had no obligation." Victoria interrupted. "Interesting philosophy for someone who inherited 100% of a fortune that should have been shared." Guess shifted away from Richard like he was toxic. "Prove it," he demanded. Victoria smiled predatorily. "You think I came here without proof?" She motioned to the entrance, and 3 people walked in. Diane Morrison, a top investigative journalist, David Kim, a lawyer specializing in inheritance law, and Dr. Hamilton, the family's private physician. Richard staggered back. "What are you doing here?" Helena whispered, recognizing him. "Dr. Hamilton's hand shook, but his voice was steady. 20 years ago, I was forced to sign a false death certificate. Henry Blackwood didn't die of natural cause. She was poisoned slowly with arsenic." The room gasped. Diane raised a hand. "Please, no phones. This is an official confession." Richard broke into a sweat. "You're crazy. My father died of heart problems." "Dr. Hamilton continued. "He found out about your embezzlement and was about to expose you. Then he started showing symptoms." Victoria held back tears. Finally, after 2 decades, the truth was out. David Kim opened a folder with lab results confirming arsenic poisoning. Richard yelled, "This is a conspiracy." Diane stepped forward, playing transcripts of Richard threatening Dr. Hamilton to stay silent. Victoria's voice cut through. "We didn't just kill our father. You stole 20 years of my life." Richard pointed wildly. "You're all lying." Victoria connected her phone to the mansion sound system. The chilling recording played. "Hamilton, keep quiet about anything strange. If you open your mouth, I'll ruin you. And that woman and her bastard daughter? They're on their own." The silence was absolute. Even Richard's defenders recoiled. Helena stared at him, horrified. Victoria's composure broke for a moment. 20 years of cleaning my own father's blood off the hands of his killer. She breathed deep, steady again. "You want to know how I got all this? I didn't come by accident. I applied for this job on purpose through years of preparation, gathering evidence." Richard tried a last desperate shot. "Even if it's true, inheritance was settled years ago." David smiled. "Actually, with evidence of murder, assets can be redistributed. We have the original will." Victoria stepped closer. "My biggest mistake was thinking you'd change on your own," she whispered. "You destroyed this family the moment you chose money over justice." Richard collapsed, defeated. His empire crumbled live as Diane projected documents exposing bribery, embezzlement, and corruption as personal fortunes siphoned, politicians blackmailed, judges bought. Friends turned away. Victoria knelt, staring into his broken eyes. You killed our father, stole my dignity. There's no making up for 20 years. Helena's phone rang, a child calling from college, asking if the internet was true. Is Dad a murderer? Helena glared at Richard. You've shamed your own children. Police sirens wailed outside. Dr. Hamilton informed Victoria that Richard would be arrested that night for murder, fraud, blackmail, and tax evasion. Victoria addressed the stunned guests. I didn't do this for revenge, but for justice for everyone trampled by men like Richard Blackwood. Patricia approached hesitantly, apologizing. Victoria's reply was firm. You laughed at me when you saw me as less. Now you want my friendship because of my bank account? That says everything. As officers cuffed Richard, Victoria stepped onto the balcony where reporters swarmed. Helena, broken, whispered, I didn't know. Victoria replied gently. You were a victim too. She looked out at the sparkling city below. Now justice will be served and maybe Beverly Hills will learn class isn't about money. 6 months later, Victoria sat in Richard's old office, now transformed. Where arrogance once hung on the walls, certificates and photos of promoted employees now told a different story. Richard was sentenced to 25 years, assets confiscated, and Victoria had boosted the company's profits by 40% by treating people with dignity and fairness. Helena had divorced and moved away, but sought Victoria out to apologize. You could have destroyed us, but chose to protect my children. Victoria answered, Children don't pay for their parents' sins. Dr. Hamilton now worked as a medical consultant, offering free care to employees, saying to Victoria, You taught me it's never too late to find dignity. Victoria's story went viral worldwide. She received invitations to speak on justice and leadership, but stayed focused on building real change scholarships, microloans for entrepreneurs, and California's largest fund supporting domestic violence survivors. One quiet afternoon, Victoria received a letter from prison. Richard wrote, I don't deserve forgiveness, but you showed me I became a monster. My children want to meet the aunt who saved the family. Victoria kept the letter silent. Justice was done. Forgiveness was her own journey. In an interview, when asked about revenge, Victoria said calmly, Revenge would be doing to him what he did to me. Justice means making sure he pays and no one else suffers like I did. And on advice for those facing injustice, she looked out the window. The best revenge? Build something so great the injustice is only the first chapter of your triumph. That night, Victoria went home, not to the tiny apartment where she dreamed of justice, but to a comfortable house where she raised 2 orphan girls, giving them a second chance. She thought of the father she barely knew, but whose blood ran in her veins. Henry Blackwood would be proud. Because Victoria's real victory wasn't just toppling Richard. It was proving power built on justice, not fear, multiplies and lifts everyone. Richard tried to humiliate a cleaning lady and ended up discovering he'd underestimated a storm. More importantly, he learned dignity can't be bought, inherited, or stolen. It's earned in the quiet moments when no one's watching. So, tell me, how do you think? Was Victoria's justice too cruel, or exactly what the world needed? Drop your thoughts below, and let's talk about what real justice means in a world that so often looks the other way.